Welcome. Welcome, one and all, to another very special episode of Concentrated Chaos with your host. Hey, it's me. It's Rusty. And for those of you that know me, well, I'm Rusty. And for those of you that don't know me, well, I am Rusty. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are in episode number 4 of what I'm calling the Playbook. Okay, today we're going to be talking about navigating offers. So we priced it right. We did excellent selling strategies. We got offers in. Now what do we do? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And in case this is your first time with us here in this series, this Playbook series is my 3-day Saturday to sold selling system where I sell any house at any price point, in any condition, anywhere in the state of Colorado. So this is what I do from A to Z. There is no hidden information. There's nothing that's quote unquote a trade secret. I'm not selling a course. I'm not selling coaching. There's no paywall. This is 100% everything that I do from A to Z for you. Take what you want, take the best, leave the rest. But this is how I do things when I sell a house. And so this week we're in episode number 4, where we're going to talk about offers. Awesome. So we're here. You did the pricing it right. You did the selling strategies, did the showing, compressed the showing window, and now you got a couple offers in. What the heck do we do now? Let's talk through it and see what that looks like. So when you get an offer in from a buyer's agent, so we'll get in a couple of different documents. The main one that we're going to get in is the contract to buy and sell. Okay, that is our 25-page standard contract to purchase that every single real estate agent in Colorado that's licensed has to use. Okay, you could go out and, if you wanted to do a contract and hire a lawyer to do that, you're within your rights to do that, but that's crazy town. Don't do that because lawyers are expensive. And a lot of lawyers suck. Actually, I think I said in the last episode, maybe used car salesmen are the only other less respected profession than being a realtor or a lawyer. So yeah, don't go out and hire a lawyer. Just hire an agent. That's what we're here for. Anyways, you're going to get a standard contract that's going to outline all of the terms and conditions. There's going to be pricing information in there, earnest money, dates and deadlines, how things terminate, who terminates, who has rights when, what happens if it terminates, what happens if we close. It's everything. It's legal mumbo jumbo, and it is a lot. Okay, but that is definitely something that you're going to want to read, even though it's a lot of legalese. You're going to want to read it in its entirety, and you're going to want to understand what you're signing, right? So we'll get that, and you might get a couple other addendums, maybe like a buyer addendum, or if it's a corporation that's, or an LLC that's coming in and purchasing the house. Maybe there's like an affiliated business or disclosure of related business activities where they own a real estate company and a title company and a mortgage company and this and that and the other. It's just some addendums, disclosures. The main thing that we're going to have to look at is the contract to buy and sell. Okay, and we're going to go through that. As we're going through that, not in this, because there's a lot to go through. In the time when you get these contracts, and we'll obviously go through all that, ask all of the questions. Okay, as many questions as you have. There's no such thing as a dumb question. You're signing a legal document for the most expensive thing that you're either selling or buying ever in your entire life, mostly. And there's no dumb questions. So you want to understand everything that is your rights and your responsibilities and your duties with this contract when you sign it. So when, if you're represented by an agent, they're going to check over the contract, make sure that everything's in good order. If you're doing this for sell by owner on your own, then the main things that you're going to want to take a look at is you're going to want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly. Okay, because that's something I've had to sign a bunch of disclosures almost every time that I have to go and sign documents at closing with a client. I have to sign a affiliated name disclosure because some dumbass at some point when I was like 17 accidentally typed a J instead of an R, and so now there's there's legal precedent that my name is Justy D. Stevenson. And so every time I have to go in and sign that. So don't do that. Don't let that happen. So, I fear that I just opened a Pandora's box and now everybody's going to call me Justy, but whatever. Fuck it. I don't care. It is what it is. Anyways, so you want to make sure that your name is correct on there. You're also going to want to make sure that the legal description of the house is correct and is what it is in the tax records, or if you've pulled, as an agent, I'm going to pull ownership and encumbrance report from title. That's what I want to see on the contract, is the legal description from that. Now, your house, 123 Main Street, that is not how your house is sold. That is not how legally you own your house. That is what your house is known as. What your house is legally sold by is Lot 6, Block 4, first filing of Mission Viejo. Okay? That's the legal description for most places. You might have, if it's something a little bit more rural, you might have, meets and bounds, or, this 64th of this 64th of this corner of this tract. Just depends on the type of property. But the legal description of your property is not the address. That's just how it's known colloquially. Colloquially, that's a very difficult word to say. I like it, but it's very wordy in the mouth. Anyways, so you're going to want to make sure your name and your legal description are correct. Okay? And then a little bit down on the contract, a few pages in, you're going to see a big table of dates and deadlines. Okay? And each deadline in that contract, date, refers to a section in the contract. If you look in there, just to the left, on the table, you'll see section 6.2. Okay? And then you'll have the deadline of that one. And then you can go in the contract to section 6.2, and it'll describe what that deadline means as far as the contract goes. Okay, you're going to want to read all of that stuff. There's a lot of them on there, but not all of them are used every contract. You're going to want to know your rights when it comes to the deadlines. Now, sometimes deadlines function in different ways in the same contract. Okay, sometimes there's deadlines where if they pass and there's no action taken by either party, well, the contract's still in force. Okay? However, there are some deadlines that require action from you. And if the action is not completed, then the contract terminates. And those are a big difference than just if deadlines pass, they pass. And so you want to know the difference between which deadline is which and which ones require action and which ones don't. For example, you want to do for your inspection objection deadline. Okay? Let's say it's 10 days after mutual execution of the contract, 10 days after MEC. Okay, within that 10 days, what that deadline says is that the buyers have the responsibility of their sole responsibility to go perform any inspections that they want to perform and give you a list of things that they object to inside of the contract or inside of the condition of the house. Okay? If the buyer does not deliver an inspection objection by the specified time, okay, in your dates and deadlines table, there's a box that says, time of day deadline, whatever, and you can put in whatever you want, 7 p.m., whatever you want to do. So if we're 10 days after MEC at 7:01 p.m., the inspection objection deadline has passed and the contract is still in force. However, the buyer now has forfeited their right in order to, if you don't want to fix whatever they come up with on the inspection objection, there's no right for them to terminate and get their earnest money back on that. Okay? So that's the deadline that can pass with no action required. Now there's another date deadline. For example, let's pull the lead-based paint disclosure deadline. And now if there's a house that's older than January 1st, 1978, I just run it all the way through. If it was built before December 31st, 1979, we're doing a lead-based paint disclosure. If whatever that deadline is, if a lead-based paint disclosure was not delivered, the contract terminates. And doesn't matter, I mean, you can do a revive or do a new offer, but the contract as it is written in that moment, if there's no lead-based paint disclosure delivered in a timely manner, that contract is null and void and is terminated. Okay? So those are the two different types of deadlines and kind of how they function. And it's, like I said, it's very important to understand how those function. Okay? Let's talk about financing, because chances are, most people, especially in Colorado, with an average, this is December, we're 3 days before Christmas. In 2024, the average sales price right now in the Denver metro area is right around $775,000. Not a lot of people are slinging $750,000 in cash in order to buy a house. So chances are you're going to see an offer that has, has a loan attached to it, a lender attached to it. Now, there's lots of different loan products out there. The three main ones, and then you might see a fourth if you live a little bit more rural. You're going to see a conventional loan. You're going to see FHA loans. You're going to see a VA loan. If you live a little bit more rural, you might see a USDA loan. We're going to leave USDA loans out of our discussion here just because in my time in this business, I've only worked with one or two of those. They're not common. They do happen, though. But so conventional, FHA, VA, or the usual loan types that you're going to see. Now, some things that you're going to want to keep in mind. FHA and VA loans have conditional appraisals. Now, what does that mean? Conditional appraisal means FHA and VA loans, they are backed by the government, right? Because of how the programs are designed, the government wants to know that they are lending on a house that is in good condition and isn't going to fall down around, they're not going to lose their investment, basically. So what FHA and VA appraisals will do is they'll say, okay, this house, whatever it is, we're going to appraise it for $500,000 conditional to X repairs. Okay. Now, these repairs seem kind of silly sometimes. Sometimes they're, this foundation has a crack or whatever the case, the roof has a hole in it or, big stuff like that, obviously. But then there's little things that really do come up a lot on these FHA and VA appraisals, and they're kind of silly, but I guess I get where they're coming from. Things like torn carpet. If there's torn carpet, it is coming up as a condition on a VA or FHA appraisal. Guaranteed. They really love to attack that kind of stuff. Peeling paint. I've seen it on, 3 or 4 now appraisals recently where it's something like the paint on the deck is peeling in 3 spots. Conditional appraisal, you need to get it fixed. The whole deck needs to be repainted. Or fascia boards, on the front of the house under the gutters. Even stuff like inside, if there's peeling paint, they're going to ding you for it. Especially if it's a little bit of an older house. And there's a potential where it could be lead-based paint. They're going to ding you hard for it. Things like, loose hand railing or, the spindles are too far apart. Cracked or missing outlet covers. That kind of stuff is things that you will see come up on FHA and VA appraisals as a condition to their appraised value. Now, those aren't things, obviously, you don't want to hear all the stuff that I just said. You don't want to hear all that and then say, you know what, I don't want to take a FHA or a VA loan, because that is going to cut out a gigantic base of buyers. There's a lot of people, first-time home buyers, veterans, a lot of people utilize these programs in order to buy a house. So you don't want to say, we're just not going to do that. It's either cash or conventional only. Don't do that. You just want to have that in mind. So let's say we have, 3 different offers. We've got a conventional, one conventional, one FHA, and one VA. Well, maybe we look at those, and if all of the other terms are close, maybe that conventional one is the one that we give the nod to because we're going to have an easier time at appraisal because of X, whatever the case is. So it's just something to keep in mind. We're not eliminating buyers, but just something that we're going to, keep in our heads as we're going through and negotiating these offers. Okay. Now, as we talked about, this was FHA and VA. Obviously, conventional, they all have an appraisal as well, but they will not have conditional appraisals. They'll just say whatever the house is, we have a contract price of $500. If something's wrong with it, all right, well, it appraises at $460. And that's just the way that it is. And you can either get it reappraised or you can, fight it, that kind of stuff. Another side note, FHA and VA appraisals, they stick. What do you mean by that? So they stick for 6 months, no matter who the lender or the buyer is. So if you have 123 Main Street and you have an FHA appraisal get completed on it, and it's $500,000, well, that house will appraise for any VA or FHA loan for the next 6 months for $500,000, period. So those get transferred between lenders. So that's another thing. If you're trying to put that into the calculus, that's another thing you want to keep in mind. So lastly, with FHA and VA loans, if you are in a condo or a townhome community, you're going to want to make sure, and obviously if you have an agent before they're going to be doing this for you, you want to make sure that your condo or townhome complex is eligible for a FHA or a VA loan. And the reason that they do that is not all complexes are eligible for these. They have a certain threshold for the amount of renters that they want inside of a complex. They don't want to be guaranteeing a bunch of loans on a complex that has 75% FHA loans and 60% of these FHA loans are being used as rentals. Okay. So what you can do is you can go on the HUD website. You just go to Google and search FHA condo eligibility. And then you can go to the HUD website and they have a whole database that you can go in there and look and see before, because obviously if it's ineligible, then that's going to take out a big pool of buyers. We have to reevaluate how we price things and how we go about it. But good thing to keep on your checklist of stuff to do if you're doing this for sub-owner and you're in a condo or a townhome complex. You want to make sure that you are even eligible to receive FHA or VA offers. So when we get these offers in, you are going to get in, the contract. We talk through what that kind of looks like. Then you're going to get in a pre-approval letter. And the way that I know that you're going to get a pre-approval letter is because you're not going to accept any offers without a pre-approval letter or a proof of funds if it's a cash offer. You don't want to deal with any of that mess. Trust me, I've done it before. It's a nightmare. It's not worth your time. Get an offer in. They need to have a pre-approval letter that comes with it or right behind it. So what is a pre-approval letter? Well, there's different things. There's different ways that people will call things. This is our pre-qualification letter, or this is our pre-approval letter, or this is our fully pre-approved letter. And the difference between those, it's small, but it is significant. So a pre-qualification letter, like let's say you're John Smith, you call up Rocket Mortgage and you say, hey, Rocket Mortgage, I am the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. No, my name's not Mark Cuban. I just bought it from him. Okay, I make $74 million a year and I have no debt. Can I get a pre-approval to buy a $14 million house? And they're going to go, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, can you send me a pre-qualification letter? Sure. And they're going to type it out. Oh, Mr. John Smith is pre-approved or pre-qualified to purchase a house up to $14 million. Okay, you don't have to show any documents. You don't have to prove who you are. You can get a pre-qualification letter for anything, basically. That's just them looking at the numbers and then going to their little table and saying, okay, what if everything this person is saying is true, would we give them this loan? Yes. Okay, that is a pre-qualification. That's better than nothing, but it's really kind of nothing, right? So the next step up is a pre-approval letter. Pre-approval letter means they went through and they've done the application. They've actually put in social security number, addresses, identifying information. They've actually put pen to paper of, yep, this is my job, this is my salary. Here's the phone number, contact information for the company that I work for. And then that has been reviewed by someone, usually the underwriter or the processor, and they'll go, okay, yep, if this all checks out, this looks good. Okay, we're going to do a pre-approval letter. That's better. And if it's just a pre-approval letter and that's all you can get, that's fine. What you really want to shoot for is a fully pre-approved person. Okay, that means they've, just like we talked about, they've done the full application. It has been ran through automated underwriting, and even better, they've been through the full underwriting process where they've verified all income, they've pulled tax documents, they've pulled everything that they need in order to say, yes, this person, we absolutely will lend them this money as long as it's under this amount. All we need from you is the address of the property that you're buying. And they are fully pre-approved. If you can find somebody that's been through the automated underwriting at least, but if they can be fully pre-approved, that's one that I'd put right near the top of the list, pending all of the other things in the contract look good. Okay. So what you're going to want to do, and again, being redundant here, if you have an agent, they're going to do this for you. But what I do is I called the lender and I asked them a lot of questions. Okay, so we've got the pre-approval letter. They'll have the lender's information on it. I'll give them a call, and I have some questions that I like to ask. One of the things that I ask is, do they have enough money in the bank to cover the down payment that they've outlined in the contract? So if it's a conventional loan, we're at $500,000, and they say, yep, we're going to do a 20% down payment. Okay, great. Do they have 20%? They said in the contract there's a little box that you can check that says is or is not available. And so I'll ask you, is this true? Are they telling me the truth? Do they have this money in the bank right now to cover the down payment? Yes, no, whatever they say. Some of them won't tell you. Some of them will. If they won't tell you, I think that says a lot about how they do things. But take your mileage may vary on that one. I asked them we talked about automated underwriting. Asked them through that. Then I asked them some more questions about them, because when I'm working with a lender, I want to make sure that this lender knows how to handle challenges as they come up, because inevitably we're working with people and lots of money and things get wild. It happens. And so I want to know that this lender is not, a newbie off the street. This is his first deal. If it's your first deal, that's fine. We'll work through it. But I want to know that there's somebody there with some experience that knows how to get things done. So I ask, how long have you been doing this? How many loans do you close? Do you foresee any potential pitfalls as far as this contract goes, how we've written it? Or, we're shooting for a 24-day close. How does that work? What do you think about that? Is that something that you think you can do? Are you 100% on that? Or give me a percentage. And then I'll ask them, how's your communication? Like we talked about in the last episode, communication is a huge, huge thing. If you just communicate, we can avoid a lot of pitfalls along the way if we're just in communication. And so, some of my favorite lenders, even if there's zero change, they'll call me on it's update Monday, it's update Friday, whatever it is. And they'll call and they'll go, hey, just calling to update you. No change at all, but I just wanted to make sure that everything was good. Do you need anything? Nope. Okay. Those are the people that I want to work with. We're staying in constant communication, and we get out ahead of things that potentially could come up because we're talking. So all of those things are going to be things that you want to know from the lender to give you some more information and some more background on these offers. So the last thing I want to talk about is disclosing offers. Okay. This is probably my hot take for the day, or my hot take for this series. There are a lot of agents who will not tell you if they have any offers in hand. They will play all kinds of games with you, from things like, I'll call and be like, hey, got this buyer. We saw it. We love it. They're thinking about bringing an offer. How's the showings been? Do you have any offers in hand? I'll go, I don't know. We've had a decent amount of showings, but offers, I can't really disclose that. What do you mean you can't disclose that? I can't. You mean you're choosing not to? Because you absolutely can disclose it, because there's a specific box in the contract that says the seller allows the listing agent to disclose the offers or the existence of any offers. I even go a step further in my contracts and I say, seller agrees to listing agent to disclose the existence of any offers or terms of offer. Okay. Now, why do I do that? Because there are so many people in this industry who play in the gray. And playing in the gray, it's my life philosophy. I will not play in the gray. If you play in the gray, that's fine. And it might work out for you for a long time, but I refuse. I know that when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, I did not play in the gray or step over any lines or get close to any lines that I shouldn't cross. When we're talking about disclosing offers, it is my personal philosophy that I will tell anyone who calls which offers we have in, what they look like, what deadlines there are, and where you would need to be in order to beat that offer. So, and that's not the way that most people do it. So many of these listing agents play these games when it comes time to negotiate these offers. And I am convinced down to my core that it hurts sellers. I've had guys, this guy specifically that I'm thinking of, I won't name him, but I had him tell me, he said, I will never tell anyone anything about any offers that I have in. I will never do it. I said, why not? He said, well, you just never know what people are willing to do. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, you just, I don't know what their top of the line is. I don't want the sellers to maybe miss out on something because of, and it's like, dude, again, you're playing in the gray. You're wasting your time. You're wasting the buyer's agent's time. You're wasting the buyer's time. There's absolutely nothing wrong. And I found it to be my greatest tool in my tool belt to get sellers the most money. If I say, I've got this offer at this price, it's a conventional loan, 30-day close, and by the way, there's a rent back for free for 30 days. I have another FHA loan that's $5,000 under asking. I have a conventional loan at this, and I've got 2 more potentially coming in. Okay, so if you want to be better than that, this is the bar where you need to be. Okay, and I've had so many agents tell me, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We're out of the running because we're not even pre-qualified up to what your highest offer is. So maybe we can figure something out, but you know what? I think this one's just not going to be for us. I thank you so much for your time. It doesn't get the seller's hopes up. It doesn't get the buyer's hopes up. And it doesn't waste my time or the buyer's agent's time. Okay? If what I want is I want you to know exactly where you stand. And if you can do better, excellent. Get it to me. If you can't do better, that's fine. You can move on. We can move on and be friends. So and then the last thing that I do when it comes to disclosing offers is every time, let's say I've got 3 offers in, and I tell every single one, I said, okay, all right, you are offer number 1, you're offer number 2, whatever it is. If I get any other offers in, I will call you. Not I will text you, I will call you. I will call you and let you know what that offer looks like so that you guys can come up and do your best. And they go, okay, great. I cannot tell you from, we do showings Saturday and Sunday. Monday afternoon, about 12 o'clock is when I do my offer deadline. From Monday at 12 to Monday at 6 p.m. when I present. That 6-hour time frame, I have made more money for sellers doing that exact thing that I just told you than anything else that I've ever done in my entire career. Calling people in that short time, again, because we're talking about emotions, people get attached. Buyers get attached. And when the time frame is short, they'll do things not against their best interests, but they will do things that maybe they have normally done first because they don't want to miss out. FOMO, right? That's the big millennial term, whatever. That's a real thing, and you can use it to your advantage as a seller. I will call everybody. Okay, we've got 3 offers in. Okay, offer number 4 comes in. I'm calling in order 1, 2, and 3. And I'm telling them, hey, we've got 3 other, now we have 3 other offers. I'm calling everyone and telling them where we're at. I need your highest and best by 3 p.m. today, 4 p.m. today. Okay, and I'm calling the number 2 and number 3. And when they come in, I do it all over again. Okay, if you try and get a hold of me on a weekend where I'm selling a house, you're probably not going to have a very easy time of doing it. I'll answer my phone, but I'm all over the place because this is where you make your money. This is how you get the best price with the best terms, period. It's negotiating these offers. So all that summed up, be open, be honest, be communicative, ask questions. You do those 4 things, you got a pretty good shot at doing this section of the playbook mostly right. You hire me, you get it done 100% right because it's my playbook. All right, so that is negotiating the offers. Okay, next week we are going to talk about pending. What happens once we've negotiated these offers and we get this sucker under contract? How do we do that? There's definitely some things that we need to talk through on that. It's going to be great. That's a good one. Where I've made sellers money is negotiation. Where I've saved them the most money is in the pending process. So we'll talk through that and how you can really save yourself a lot of money and headaches and time. Okay. So, you have any comments or feedback? I would love to hear it. You can call me. The number is 303-335-9705, and that is a direct line right to my face. You can email me at rusty@rustystevenson.com. You can find me on all the social medias at the Realtor Rusty. Realtor, not realtor. It's dumb as shit. I hate that. But it is Realtor. So if you do Realtor, good luck. You're not going to find me. The Realtor Rusty. And let me know. I'm always open. I can't, with negotiating offers and contracts, there's things I can give you generalities like I gave today, but I can't give you specific, okay, this guy said this about this thing. How do we do this? I can't be your agent unless you have me be your agent. So if you call me and you have a very specific question about a contract, I may or may not be able to answer it because if I don't represent you, I can't do agency duties. But I will do the best that I can or put you in the right direction or get you connected with somebody who can. So thank you, everybody. This was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks. We're going to finish out the playbook with the pending process and closing day. So as per usual, Mr. Andy Barkowski is going to take us out with my fantastic theme song. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day or evening, whatever it is, and we will catch you in episode 5, the pending process of the playbook. All right, see you guys.